Beside me is my sister. We almost look alike. Only I'm wearing 6 inches and she's on flat. Forget the height is the same thing. I will be handing you over to my respected sister, voice merchants like me, technocrats. You can keep your tech to yourself. We are technocrats. Asari Otu. Asari.
Thank you very much. Please put a warm round of applause for my sister. Put your hands together for her. We appreciate her. Good afternoon, everybody, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and all the stakeholders in the house. We warmly welcome you to this afternoon session. I'd like to inform you that we are going to be merging two sessions. The panel discussions, panel discussion 1 and 2 will be taking place back to back without any break. This is to ensure that we round up things quickly and not keep you bored or longer than you expect to be. Straight away, I will be introducing the panelists for the first session. He is known as the oracle of the Nigerian IT industry. He pioneered the conceptualization framework and content drafting. The content drafting strategy for the establishment of NITDA. We know him as the grandpa of IT in Nigeria. He is no other person than Dr. Chris Uwaje, the founder, chairperson of Mobile Software Solutions, Lagos, Nigeria. You're most welcome, sir. Next on our lineup, we have the first woman to be awarded a PhD in computer science in Nigeria. She has an enviable track record in the computing profession. Please put your hands together as we make welcome Dr. Mrs. Nike Osofisan. You're most welcome, ma'am. An entrepreneur and a tech enthusiast. He is a man who has singled himself out by his assiduous input into the IT system in Nigeria. Please put your hands together for Mr. Olutayo Adeniyi, who is the President, Information Technology Association of Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. Please put your hands together. You're most welcome, sir. Next on our lineup is His Excellency Assem Mohammed Anafi El Saifi. He is the ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We welcome you. We appreciate your presence here. Thank you, sir. Moderating this session is no other person than the convener of this life-impacting meeting, the chairman of Digital Africa, Dr. Evans Woherem. Please put your hands together as he makes his way to the seat. Dr. Woherem, please. I believe he is quite busy out there. He'll be here in a second. Media, could we have some lights music? Evans for him. You're welcome, sir. He will be moderating this session. You're welcome, sir.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are all welcome to this second part of the event of today. As somebody earlier said, it is indeed the main part, the main issues we are here for today. We are going to be looking at the topic, Africa and technology, past, present, and future, so that we can find out where we missed out on what we are supposed to do to move forward, and also figure out what we need to do in order to move forward. With us today, I understand they've already introduced them, but let me just quickly say that we have one of our finest IT gurus in the country, Dr. Chris Owaje. He's the founder and chair of Mobile Software Solutions. So welcome, please. Okay. We also have here today Professor Nike Osofisan. Madam, welcome. Yeah, she's director of the University of Ibadan School of Business, Ibadan, Nigeria. We also have Mr. Olutayo Adeye. Welcome, my brother. He's President, Information Technology Association of Nigeria. And we also have His Excellency, Assem Mohammed Hanafi El Saifi, who is the Ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Welcome, welcome. Now, apologies that the person that was chosen to anchor this panel discussion unfortunately cannot make it. She was here earlier on, but because of some challenges, she had to leave. So that's the reason why I'm anchoring this discussion session. Now, basically, what are we trying to do? This discussion is stemming from, of course, the theme for this year's Digital Africa Conference, which is Africa's Tech Renaissance. Now, which means that there was a time here in Africa in which we were richly blessed with different countries or different regions within Africa that were doing mighty things, things that were of very high fit with regard to science and technology. But somehow, we seem to have also lost that touch. And as a result of that, we are now finding ourselves in a situation in which we are living in a world system in which, technologically speaking, Africa now is at the bottom of the ladder. And this, of course, is not good for us. One, because we've all been told, and we all know it is true, there is a correlation between having good technology, advanced technology, and also having advanced economies, and therefore advanced standards of living. So, what that means is that we have to take anything to do with technological development very seriously, and we need to do it urgently, because the world we are living in, things are moving in leaps and bounds. That, being the case, it means that we need to take things very seriously and make sure that we are doing things urgently. So that's what we are here to discuss today. What I would do is ask each of the panelists their take on the topic. Then from there, we can then, go deeper to look at some other issues, So I'll start from the other end. Professor Nico Sofisam, please tell us what you believe the situation with regards to Africa and technology, with regards to our past, our present, and our future. And, if you can also, what we need to do in order to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First and foremost, well, I don't have to repeat everything that was said in the morning. Africa was there at the beginning, but somehow we lost out. So I'm going to say, how did this happen, and why is this still happening? I will tell you one thing. I'm a data analyst. I believe we need to do something about our intellectual processes, our methods, our methods, and our intuitive talent, which Sir Aladekomo referred to, people called magic and whatever. We lost out because all of these things were not well documented. Because even we are still losing out even today in terms of not documenting things properly. All of us knew about Podoyam, the machine. The thing originated in Nigeria, but it was not patented. So what happened? It was taken to Malaysia and it was brought back to us as a Malaysian product. We are still suffering from documentation up to today. We are also suffering from doing things in secrecy, like we make things secret. We were very good in medicinal herbs in the past, but most of our parents, the idea died with them. Probably the best they did was to pass down an oral tradition. And when something is oral, you lose information, and before you know it, all of it is what? Is completely lost. We are still in that process up to today. Losing information, not documenting things properly, so that our children don't even know who we are. Unfortunately, until recent times, history was completely removed from Nigerian syllabus. When you don't know who you are, what your parents have done in the past, the Songhai Empire, what they did, the Timbuktu University, what happened in those places, our children have no clue as to all those things. And a technology that is not your own, that you are taught in another language, before you master that technology, it's going to take some time, like Saladibu Komod said earlier on in the morning. As much as I agreed with him that our children now, the first language is English, I'm also afraid because we will lose our language. And when we do that completely, that's going to be the worst disaster that is going to happen to Africa. I'm in an university environment. Africans come now to learn Yoruba. And when those people come and they talk to you and they speak to you, they speak the real Yoruba dialect to you. That you yourself will be afraid. What's going to happen is that Americans will come back and teach our children our language. And you know what that means. So we must begin to talk about a language is very, very important, and it's germane. And not being secretive about things is also very, very important. We have a lot of medicinal herbs, but we don't know the composition. By now, some of those things would have been properly, if they were properly documented, probably some of those things will become capsules, which you can take and you get. I believe that the solution for any country is within that environment. I believe that's the way God created the world. But now we are importing everything. I'm not saying we should not import, but whatever it is that we import, we must also indigenize those things that we imported. It is very, very important as far as I'm concerned. And also, even though I'm in the university system, I believe our educational system should be revamped. And I also believe that, I'm sorry, NUC, I don't know whether they are here today. syllabus are given to us. And whether you like it or not, you must conform to NUC standard. The only thing is that you can add to what we say you should teach. We must change the way we create our syllabus. What we do must be pertinent to our environment. It is very, very important, because if you do not do that, the way our grandparents lost that, I believe we lost all those things because they were not documented. How many people knew how pyramids were built? The kind of calculations that went into it. I don't think the Egyptian ambassador is here. Maybe they do in Egypt. I don't know how the pyramids were built. And please, we are going through the process of another colorization in the aids we take from the Western world. When one of my PhD students was going to do something on AIDS, to get data was a problem. You know why? Because all the AIDS given with respect to AIDS, the data belongs to the donor. What am I saying? The data belongs to what? The donor. And the donor are outside Nigeria. So for goodness sake, when are we going to be able to do things ourselves? And I'm going to appeal to federal government that it must begin to fund research so that our research not be funded by foreign aid. For as long as our research are funded by foreign aid, we are going nowhere, because we will not be able to do what we want to do with our data ourselves. And without data today, knowledge is now the capital, not the physical capital anymore. Knowledge is what's going to take us forward. And when we don't have knowledge and we don't have process that knowledge adequately for our children and for ourselves, the future may not be as bright as people are making it to be. I'm in the university environment. Most researches are funded by international agencies. And all the results and all the data belongs to them. And that is very, very dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Looking at it a little bit more, given the way things are currently in our societies in Africa, there are certain things probably within society that are making us not to be able to take some of these things you've talked about, like, for example, documentation, making sure we are properly transforming into a knowledge society very seriously. What and what do you think we ought to be doing to begin to take things a lot more seriously so that these things can be done?
Well, I think Nigerian industry also has a role to play. I'm appealing to the Nigerian people in industry to please fund research going on in the university. It is very, very important. It's very easy for you to say the people in the university are not doing anything. They are still teaching whatever. A country depends on research to move forward. We need to begin to indigenize some of these researches that is going on in our university environment. And there's something, I'm the provost of College of Fellows. I brought up a program now to say that the people in the industry must begin to do what? Relate with our students. Like Salade Common, I've told all of them. One time, maybe 2-hour program, they have to go and teach our students in the university. They must tell them exactly what is outside there and what they can do. And I also set up a kind of mentoring thing with the students in the university, that Salade Common will pick up a mentee, whom he will mentor. And I'm sure in the process of doing that, some of these things we are talking about will be realized. I'm appealing to every one of us that please come on board with this program, because governments cannot do it alone. And the universities are incapacitated. I will tell you that. There are so many things that we need that government cannot give to us all the time. But I know that if we now bring the industry into the university system. They see exactly what is going on. They know our students. They know the bright ones. Then they can come alongside them to do what? To make them to become whom they are supposed to be. It's not that don't know our responsibility. And any country that does not take its educational system very, very seriously will miss out. I'm very happy when they said India will become number 3 nation. Go and look at NIT. The students that graduate from NIT, they are top-notch students in India. And they are making waves. Very few Nigerians, when they go abroad, they do very well. But we don't have what we can give to them in the Nigerian environment. In NIT, because I went to India and I went to that school to see, they have everything that they need to train them very well. An average Indian, we want to send a child to NIT, and that is the truth. Do we have institutions like that in Nigeria? NIT is not owned by government. It is a private university. Our private university, Saladi almost said something, that one of the private universities, now their students don't want to work for anybody. It's because they are well taught, they have everything that they need. So education, sir. Funding education and make sure that resources are available in educational universities, very, very important. Not all private universities are doing well. Not all of them. Some are just collecting money. And that is the truth of the matter. But some are also doing well. But why can't we make our even universities that are owned by government, why can't we make them to run very well? I've told Saladi Komo and the Lord, I'm not going to pay them. They are going to do this thing for me, promo bono. But I know that from that seed we are sowing, you will begin to see top IT students coming out of our Nigerian university system. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you that education is very important, and that we need to fund that sector, a lot more than is the case. We just have to find a way to put in a lot more funding. Even the NIT you've talked about, it's as a result of proper funding that they're able to do that. But in addition to that, I think in education, yes, we also need to do a lot more research and make sure that all those research lead to proper documentation of so many, things. And in addition to that, I think people in the educational sector should also be thinking of how to make use of some of these new technologies that are coming to create situations of leapfrogging, even within the educational system, because you find out that usual classroom pedagogy, communication might not just be the way it is presently being conducted in universities as a result of some of these technologies. Thank you very much.
I will tell you that I showed one of my lecture notes to some of us here. I teach my students now on WhatsApp because I know every student, they have telephone. And every course I teach, I create a WhatsApp conversation. I post my lectures to the WhatsApp. And the students post their own reaction. And we talk a lot on the WhatsApp. Even when one of them posted something that was also had nothing to do with that course, I'd say, please pull that thing down. This is for CSC 102 and 102 alone. So that even the students, they can read their lecture notes, they can communicate anytime. There are some pockets of initiative in the university system now. So that even when I get to the classroom, if there's no light, there's no problem. I still go ahead to teach. And the students, before they get to class, they already know what is going to happen in the class. They're already even asking questions and so on and so forth. We need to change how we teach. We need to do a lot of things. But, sir, those lecturers too must be equipped.
Absolutely.
If they're not equipped, I'm just lucky I'm in the IT world. That's why I use IT to do a lot of things for my students. But what about those who do not have that skill? We must, I think, for anybody working in university environment now, if you cannot write a digital document, you have no business being in that place anymore. That is the truth. But many of us are still I don't know
Thank you.
how to do it. But I believe that things are beginning to change, sir. I'm the director of the University of School of Business. When we wanted to start our school, we went on a world tour. But when I came back home, I asked myself, what kind of business school do we need in Nigeria? We came up with 3 programs: MBA Telecoms, MBA Agribusiness, and MBA Oil and Gas. And we had stakeholder forum with all these industries to say, what do you expect an MBA student to know in these 3 areas? And we drew the syllabus together. MBA Agribusiness now, we do it in conjunction with IITA, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. And you know what that means? So that when this student graduates, because agribusiness is more than having a farm. Now we also have a relationship with GIMI in Israel, Galilee Institute of Management. When you talk of agriculture, you cannot say Israel is not there. So we need to marry town and gown together for our students in creating the syllabus, in running the program itself, and also in interacting with the outsiders. I'm saying that we need help in the university system in Nigeria. The industry should come, and instead of lambasting us all the time, we need help. And we also need to train our students to become an entrepreneur. I keep saying it. I went to University of Ife to learn my own computing. When I got to Georgia Tech, they were talking some kind of nonsense that maybe I was not properly trained. And I told them, sorry, I was properly trained in Ife. I'm sorry about what Reverend Sam Oye said. During his own period, it was the mainframe. You have to go to the computer room. I slept in the computer room. So I touched the computer. I punched my cards, and I ran my programs. And they worked. And when I got to Georgia Tech, I told them, I'm ready for your master's program. And I finished my master in 12 calendar months. And you know what that means in the US? Without anybody training me except University of Ife. So it is still possible for our university to do what they need to do. But the industry, you must be there for us. The parents must also be there for us. An average Nigerian parent will send a child to primary school and be ready to pay 200,000 naira per term. But they don't want to pay for the university. They want it to be free. It cannot be free. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Chris Waje,
I'm sorry, please, can I also take my leave?
Okay.
Because my flight is 5 o'clock.
That's the reason why I asked you all the questions I wanted to ask.
Please,
so no problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm in a rush, that's the reason. I wish I could stay here to say more, but I have to. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. Dr. Chris Waje, well, you've been an oracle of ICT in this country.
I don't know about that.
You've been commenting on ICT for a long time. Now, first of all, can we get your take on this issue of looking at our past, present, and future, and also dimensioning where we do some of the things we are getting wrong and what we need to do to move forward?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank you in particular and the team of Digital Africa for staging this, our spectacular platform, one of its kind, which deserves an applause, for bringing it to this stage. And I think the only little missing link I have is that people from Ghana, result of scientific knowledge. It does not evolve on its own. So, you look at the Mayas Empire of South America, it's the 11th century, and they built upstairs without metal, without steel. Then you start to think about what happened to them. Why is that enclave not developed today? What I'm trying to say is that, you see, there is this evolution of civilization. It rotates from one point to the other. But the longevity of the sustainability of this civilization is really what we're talking about. What is the lifespan of sustainability? And of course, Africa cannot develop without sustainable program or architecture for knowledge. It is called. Africa cannot develop with aids, foreign financial aid from other people. If you look at the UNDP foreign financial aid of 60 years that has been granted, Africa has been a core recipient. South America has been core recipient. Asians said, no, we want grants, not aids. You can see what Asia is doing. When you're talking about Singapore, Singapore is developing not on financial aid from anybody. They have grants to develop their knowledge that is internally based. So if we look at that, then you're looking at the concept of how really we have had Professor Sosa with due respect. Okay? She's laid out a roadmap of how we were and how probably we have to go. But my own angle is that really it's about intergenerational knowledge base. That's what I wrote I want to speak about. Intergenerational knowledge base is like running a relay race from one generation to the other, passing off the concrete knowledge, standards, workability, and all what's not. Which, of course, is we say we lost that through lack of documentation. I'll probably agree. But the residual is still there. Another example is the Y chromosome. The Y chromosome of the male, if the genetics that we've seen it, said there's only one Y chromosome, and nobody has biologically disproved that there's only one Y chromosome. And if the origin of man as we know it today, that's residual in Africa for 3 million years of fossil, then automatically it is that Y chromosome that has been spread all over the world. How does it come that Africa was able to weaponize fire through striking stone, but they've not been able to create bomb? Who said they didn't? Who said they didn't? I'll give you an example of Elucid and Newton. If you look at algebra today was created by an African under the Euphrates and the Tigris and Euphrates of the Nile River. But then, it was almost about 2,300 years ago that algebra was created through Ahmed, what was his name again? I have it here. It's Mohammed bin Musa al-Khazuri. And that al-Khazuri, they now, because the name was too long, they now call it algebra instead of al-Khazuri. Now, the essence is that he lived 2,300 years ago. And the earlier writing of al-Khazuri is about 300 years ago. Where did they get his picture to say that he was a white man? What we are trying to say that a lot of pictorial, graphical documentation that we have, they are still under subject of analytics by different writers, because people do interpretation based on the interest goal that they have. And you must be able to now say, what do we need in Africa? So getting to that, human worthiness and equity space is what probably I know that Africa is missing. Human worthiness. You look at the characteristics and the attitude of Israel. Kill one of us, kill everybody. Israeli dies anywhere in the world, it must be found, not missing in action, but dead or alive must be found. Now, the human worthiness of a continent, of a nation, starts from the kindergarten. It doesn't start from university. The African child should be the centerpiece of development for Africa. No other one. I repeat, the African child should be the center for development and sustainable scientific progress for Africa. And when you look at development, that term, people misconstrue development and growth. A country can grow. We are building skyscrapers, mansions, and whatever in Lekki, in Abuja, and whatever. But the country is not developing. We are growing. So you need a knowledge construct, an architecture on how you could develop, so that this race you are running, that relay race, can be handed over in constructive manner from one generation to the other, while they're being revived. And don't forget that be a competition from other forces of the world. Now, if you ask me, where did we miss it? Then you look at global conquest of war too. Was it that we were developing the civilization without a fallback to security of the nations of Africa, and then we were overrun? And not that really we lost. They stole. Because in war, you have a war booty. And war booty is knowledge. Knowledge construct of wars is what propels other nations to progress. We know what happened in the Second World War. Dresden was the first in Germany, was the first place that a rocket was fired, was launched into the orbit. The 33 Battalion of U.S. Army was directed during the Second World War not to go and kill anybody, but to go to Dresden and circumvent any document about the rocket. That's what made America now. And arrest anybody who is in charge, scientists. Oppenheimer, the father of the hydrogen bomb, you know, the littles from Italy and all what's not. They were taken over and took longer, and that's where they now start to innovate, and they had the hydrogen bomb. So, indeed, you can't build knowledge from one singular model. It doesn't happen. An example is that how could Microsoft have developed DOS without 1, 2, 3, which is, of course, we know 1, 2, 3, 0 to 9 is abacus, was codified in Baghdad University about 1,400 years ago. So that's why they call it the Arabic figure. So Microsoft wouldn't have designed a DOS, a disk operating system, without the numbering template of algorithm. Because if it has been patented, it will have been owned by Africa. So what we are saying really is that let us look at the need to refocus our technology development. You can't learn technology at 40. It's too late. You learn technology from the placenta. Not even when you are born. From placenta, yeah. The kid listens to music in the placenta through the mother's placenta in the womb. The kid has about the noise, he reacts, you know, the kid drinks and whatever. So the kid is already in the world of the unknown until he sees the light when he's born. So we have to create new dimensions of how African children should be brought up. It is very important. It is that gene that can be carried off constructively for innovation. And unless they innovate at that stage, they won't be able to sustain or compete with other nations. You look at the leadership of the world now in terms of age, and look at leadership of Africans. You have the leadership of the world between, say, 30 to at least 45. The one in Africa is between 60 and 70. It doesn't apply. The technology is running away on that segment, and you're talking about how to compete with technology. So you need to scale down to make sure that at the kindergarten level is mandatory for Nigerians to do, Africans to do computer science. At rudimentary, they do it Singapore. Singapore, you have what they call the future school. That's future school in Singapore that we went to when I was the director of D-Link International. You have 8 classrooms. There's no one classroom that is designated to any child. You move. It's a rotary thing. You do robotics here. We're talking about a primary school. 40 minutes robotics, multimedia. So they rotate until they have that 6 or 8 hours of school, and then they go back. So new model of construct to be able to deliver this is very important. So that's a proper.
Thank you very much, Oracle. Thank you. We need to refocus our energy and know the path to now tread. And as far as you are concerned, development is not just growth. Development, it's something that country needs to sit down to say, this is what we mean by development, and these are all the areas that need to be affected for us to be, truly called a developed country or a developed economy. Now, first is for you, if you can, dimension that a little bit, more in terms of some of those areas you think need to be looked at and refocused. That's one. Then two, sometimes I wonder, somebody like you, I've heard you comment on this type of things so many times, and you're not tired. Do you get it? I was speaking to a prof, a Nigerian prof, the other day. I won't bother to mention his name. He recently came back to the country from America. Probably he came back from, I don't know, 6 to 7 years or so ago. He did pretty, well. His own take is that, look, doctor, I've been talking and talking and talking. Nobody's listening. Nobody's implementing all this thing. We go to this kind of events. We talk, but the implementation is there. The execution is not, it's not there. How do you feel about that? How do you feel, and what do you think we need to do for that execution to be there? And why you still have a very positive, image? You've been talking and talking and talking. A lot of all the things you've been advising have not been implemented. What keeps you going, and what do you think we need to do?
Thank you, Doc. In the first place, let's look at dimensioning of development. In the first place, the issue of development is a laissez-faire definition, if you like. Development, technology, innovation in America might not be development, innovation in Egypt, because it is built on construct of the need and requirement of the people. Of the people. And when you do that, that is when you really empower your people. And when we say people, it's people of today and of the future. You cannot, for God's sake, develop for today and eat today and consume today. No, your architecture must really expand of developing for the future. So you need to have future savings too, future bank for new generations that are coming. You understand? So development is a span ecosystem that you must be able to ensure that each of those segments responds to the knowledge construct. That's why we now say knowledge comes before. As we said, a friend of mine would say, biology comes first, then of course, or beyond, then the next one is what? Chemistry. Then chemistry comes in another form, and you now have physics. So, but all of them are embodied in mathematics, in calculus, according to the element of Einstein. So where does mathematics come from? It comes from knowledge, it comes from Africa. That's the construct, that's the statement of Egypt. People are trying to say, oh, how did they measure the pyramid? Research is still going on, but the ardent logic and the calculus is that Egypt pyramid was measured by the flatness of the water. Water, yeah, they use water in construct that people have not been able to find out to pour. When you pour water in a surface, it creates a multidimensional form, and it can create a prism that are equilibrium to each other before you can do your construct. So what we are saying is that development is not just a game word. Oh, I want to develop. For what? How? For what and how? And how long can you sustain that? So it's about sustainability of things. Smart cities now, we are talking about IoT. IoT for what? Smart city for what? If America needs smart city, we need smart city, but we need more smart communities than smart cities. With our urban migration, people are coming to Abuja. Abuja probably, when we came here in 1999, it was probably 300,000 people. Now you have in Abuja going to about 3.something million, right? In 10 years, Abuja probably will be up to 10 million, all right? It means people will be coming from the suburb, and when you still drive from Lagos to Shagamu to Benin and whatever, you still see the bushes. Who are going to develop this? So the city center will choke themselves. Whereas smart cities is supposed to be an architecture of technology that can serve smart communities so that there will be an equilibrium for development, accelerated, and sustainable, because those are the guys that can listen to you. So the issue now about talking and nobody here. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. As Salah Koma said, people are listening. The tonic is that instead of the PhD, pull them down, let's pull them up. Instead of looking at the cell phone from the outside, let's look at the cell phone from the inside. Instead of looking at the computer from the outside and looking at the keyboard, let's go inside and look at how they function. Who made it? How is it made? How is it functioning? So that we can learn and re-engineer for our own needs. So the issue of technology domestication is core. You cannot take technology wholeheartedly and just put it there and start away. So you create a colossal waste all over the place. And we could say there's a country that doesn't have electricity, and you're building vacuum-based airport. You create lifts that leads to nowhere, where it cannot be functional. No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So it is just this simple logic, and this simple logic, as it were, can only be done through the inclusiveness strategy derived from, bottom up. The kindergarten, the primary school, and secondary school is where we have to be focusing on. These are the people who end up in university. If you do computing in university and leave them down, then automatically you are wasting your time. And Rwanda will come one day and buy them out from the knowledge realm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Adoni, please, can you also, take a look at what we're talking about, please?
Thank you very much. I want to stand on the existing protocol. And in the introduction, we have been told what most of us want to hear. They have encouraged us that we have not missed it and that we are actually moving forward. But the topic is past, present, and future, which means that we needed to peep a little into the past. How does the past evolve? And from experience and from what I have read, computer, which happened to be the bane of technology, made its inroad in Nigeria around 1948 when Nigerian Port Authority bought the first computer. And thereafter, they started sneaking in one by one. And around 1963, people began to feel computer, maybe the mainframe thing. Within the first 15 years from that 1963, Nigeria had about 70 computers, mainly owned by the multinationals and brought in by the foreigners thereafter, when Nigeria now decided to say, okay, let's liberalize this thing, let's introduce it to our people. I'm happy people like Sir Aladekomo is here. They were part of the startup. I saw Mr. Fujigaba there, and miracle of our time. Then Nigerians started keying into it. But I want to describe the scenario that happened after that one with a message that was a video that was sent to me on WhatsApp recently. Small school children were running the race, and then the first person picked the baton and ran very fast ahead of others, and gave the baton to the second person who did the same thing, was ahead. And then the last person collected the baton and turned around to begin to run back. And people started pursuing him. No, you can't go that way. You keep on running in that direction. So, where are we now? Things have evolved so much within those periods to this time. Thank God for those of us that were part of that time. Tell the young ones now, they can't really understand. But the truth remains that the problem started from that time. Yeah, we got introduced into this thing by the multinationals and by the foreign brands like NCR, the ICL, and the IBM, and the rest of it. And when liberalization came, some of them decided to pack up, and they decided to return to their base. Before they do that, we were not able to grab the understanding of what they were doing and how they were doing it. So, to me, at that point, we started losing it. Fine. We begin to now run to say, okay, how do we make for that lapses? Okay, let's send people abroad to go and get technology transfer, which all of us knew was not possible. Nobody will, especially in this part of the world, use your hand to labor, work, and do things that now become good, and you willingly hand it over to somebody else to go and use it for free. It doesn't happen that way. But we never knew, or we knew, we pretended not to know. Today we know, we now know that we cannot do anything without IT. When I was, just last year, around September, I led some ITAN members to the World Information Technology Congress in Taiwan. And we were taken to their smart city. When we got there, we saw a lot of things being done automatically and the rest of it. And we said, how do you do this? And they tried to explain to us. And we now ask, how can we do the same thing in our own environment? The first thing I noticed there was that out of the 85 countries that were present there, only 2 countries from Africa were there. And everything that they were discussing majorly centered on how to bring Africa to meet the rest of the world so that the world will not crumble, will not be brought down by Africans. Now it's a sympathy thing. It's no longer, oh, leave them to rot, we'll move on. It's now a matter of, okay, if my Yoruba people have a proverb that says, if a child fails, he looks forward for help. But if an adult fails, he looks backward to see what actually made him.
As Africans, should we depend on that sympathy?
Should we depend on that sympathy? Of course not. That's why we need to come back home and begin to do things right. Number one, our government. We cannot do without government intervention in this matter. Take, for example, for the past 8 or 10 years, Taiwan have been coming to Nigeria to distribute free tickets, free hotel accommodation, beneficiary twice. And why are they doing that? How are they able to do it? Their government collaborated with the public, with the private sectors to fund all these things. Because they know that their market they are producing, they don't have places to put those things. And they know that Africa is a huge market. So they decided to spend their money to bring us to come and take those things because they know we are not producing. And we are not likely going to produce very soon. The same thing in India. I was there just last February. The same thing. I had the privilege of talking to robots. And I said, no, this is not true. But when I spoke to the robot by myself, and he answered me questions, I said, where are we? So we need to get our government to begin to help us. The Indians came to Nigeria last month, and the government financed those private industries to come to Nigeria, to come and showcase their products. When is Nigeria going to begin to do something like that?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, well, to most of us, in fact, to the whole world, as we've been told, Africa is the cradle of civilization. And to most of us, when we hear that, the first country that comes to the mind in terms of being the cradle of civilization is Egypt. So in listening to you, it's like listening to the horse's mouth. So please, tell us, about Africa and technology, past, present, and future, and what you think, going forward. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'm truly humbled by your very kind remark, and such an honor for me to be here today with the distinguished community of Nigeria. I cannot claim to be an IT specialist. I am the only non-engineer member of my family. They're all engineers and doctors. I'm a lawyer and political scientist by formation. But I have been baffled by this technological achievements, and as policymakers always have two digital concepts in mind. The digital divide between us and the rest, and the digital dividends of technology on society. Now, as was echoed by many of the distinguished speakers before me, Africa is not new to technology. And many civilizations, whether in Benin here or in Giza, Egypt, in several East African and South African communities, we've had functioning societies with innovative solutions. I recall when I visited the temples in Luxor, there was a particular frame which portrayed how a surgery was performed to birth delivery, and there was a British tourist next to me, and he was really amazed by the equipments used at that time, which were quite new and which are very creative. So we cannot take a defensive stand as Africans. We have our history, we've had our goods and bads, and so we are now returning to where we once stood. And it's a big challenge, I have to admit. Now it's digital divide is quantified by maybe generations, and if not more, of differences between Africa and the West. So what we can do? Well, one of the ideas was to create centers of excellence. A country like Nigeria of 180 or so million, Egypt, I have to correct the lady because we are now 100 plus, 100 million, yes. We're no longer 80, but still we are far beyond Nigeria. We cannot educate people all in one go. It's a very big, challenging, and financial burden. organizations that can help digital and can also benefit from the digital revolution, like focusing on online education and having the students, even in remote villages, connected to a knowledge platform with a very low cost tablet that can really help him or her to get this divide shortened, this digital divide shortened. But we still have a problem with financing. Maybe now we can say that the academic year 2018-2019, we have a 65% target in primary and secondary schools in each public primary and secondary schools. In voting, for example, we have had since 2012 a very innovative way where Egyptians abroad can vote. We have just had the presidential elections last April. In my embassy, Egyptians living here in Nigeria came with a very soft, innovative software. We can identify their voting constituency, and they voted, and they were very happy about it. And this made them more participating in the politics, more included in the process. So we've had some success stories, I have to say, but we need to focus on education that can enable people to be skilled enough to handle the challenges. We need to develop a regulatory environment in Nigeria and Egypt that can ease doing business and ease the formation of technology hubs and ease their connectivity with the outside. We need also to enhance the governance. The governance, I'm not so only saying about democracy and all these, of course, but we need to have a rule of law. We need to have clear, transparent way of doing things. Accountability is very important. These are all not very remote from technology. These are all the circle, the environment that can enable the technology to serve us, because we, as was echoed by the professors, there is no use in getting top-notch technology to a very remote village if the remote village does not need it. Where are the spare parts? Where is the skilled labor we need to have the indigenized needs met by this technology. And this is a challenge for policymakers, because I have been educated in both Egyptian and American institutions. And the American institutions in Egypt, they only catered for the perspective of the American. And of course, it's a very respectable perspective. By the way, I'm not saying they're good or bad, but even the history of our country, I read it through the eyes of the Orientalists. So we need to come out and concentrate on the needs of the people, and hence the Renaissance. This word, this catching word, the Renaissance or Renaissance, is very important. That we sit together, see what is good for us, see what can technology provide for us, how we can lead our youth to in such a way as to serve in such rewarding channels that can really get us the dividends of technology that we need in our countries.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think, ladies and gentlemen, the panelists have actually done justice to the topic, although there's still a lot to talk about. But unfortunately, we are pressed for time. But even though we are pressed for time, if my other colleagues will allow me, I will invite two people to ask questions. Are there two? Either huge comments or questions. Okay, him and he.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the first qualification is that you are an entrepreneur here in Nigeria, that you have a business that is running and that is actually running, making money, turnover of about $5 million and above. Then you go to, of course, you know that within their concepts, it was like $5 million is 5 million naira. To them, don't really see, they didn't know. So when you quote in naira, that okay, you are doing maybe 5 million naira or 50 million naira, you know, to them, it looks like dollar. Then you go to the embassy now, it's in Lagos, in Victoria Island. Yeah. So you go there and tell them your track record. So they ask for some evidences like, okay, where's your certificate of incorporation? Where is the evidence of jobs you have done before and things like that? I show it to them, and that's it. They now ask you, okay, go. The accommodation is ready for you there, but the ticket you pay. When you come back, you present the receipt of your ticket, and they refund you in naira. I have some guys here who have been there, you know, in the
Thank
past.
you. Thank you very much. Next, there was a gentleman. Okay, Hebe.
I'm with the mic, please.
Where's the microphone?
There's the microphone here.
Yeah, the second person has taken.
Oh, are you a second person?
Yes.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Okay, good day all. My name is Prince Sam Divine. I'm the International President of Africa Renaissance for Grassroots Empowerment Foundation. And by training, I'm a film director. I actually want to make one or two comments. We are talking of Digital Africa, and we have only one ambassador here represented, the Egyptian ambassador. And we have about 54 countries in Africa. Now, I would have thought maybe that efforts should be made either during the coming years, that we have to reach out to all the 54 nations in Africa. They should have their ambassadors represented. Physically, they should be here, present. We can't be talking about Digital Africa with only one over 54, and the entire hall is filled up with Nigerian representatives. I have to thank the Egyptian ambassador for making our time to be here, and also the oracle that spoke. You are indeed an oracle. We appreciate your, submission. It's quite elaborate. Now, the African child is in search of identity. We can't do anything without the African knowing where he's coming from, where he is today, and where he wants to go. We have xenophobia in South Africa. It's because South Africans don't know their past. That is why they are actually venting their anger on Nigerians and that kind of thing. Somebody spoke here earlier about teaching history. And I want to also talk, if anybody is invited to a program like this and you know you cannot be there, like the Minister of Communication who represented the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, he has to be here to listen to comments made by the general, public or that kind of thing, so that we know what he's taking back to the Vice President. You can't just sit and make a presentation and go back without listening to the comments made by the general, So the African child is in search of identity. And that identity is something we need to resolve. Because...
Okay. I think you made your point.
I have not landed, please.
Please land quickly because we are rounding up, please. So land.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, the whites or the West put a knife in our instruments of unity. Then some Africans, call themselves product of Lusophone, Anglophone, and Francophone, and that kind of thing. And it's putting a big problem to the African identity we are talking about. In any place we gather, you see the block of where the Francophone is and where the Anglophone is or where this thing is. So what I'm trying to point out is, let us as Africans, know that we need to, that solution cannot come from the West. Neither will it come from the South, but it has to come from Africa. If we are talking about African technology, civilization started from Egypt. So we have to take it further. We cannot actually, before any civilization, start, the Greeks or so took it from Egypt or that kind of thing before Rome, and now you are talking about United States as the world power. Egypt was the superpower of the past. So we need to synergize. We need to actually come together and know that Africa has all it takes to move together as Africans, not to start borrowing from West and start borrowing from the South.
Okay. Thank you. Well said. Well said. And you are also right that Africans need to come together a lot more. That's something that is needed, and that's something that we're also making effort for. Now, with regards to Greater African participation, absolutely 100%, you're right. We need to make a lot more effort. But this is not because we've not made effort in the past. There's no single African country that is, let's say, here in Abuja or even in Lagos in terms of the embassies, that we didn't send a letter, to inviting them to this event. But I believe we need to engage them a lot more so that they can understand the importance of what we are doing and the need for them to participate, not only by sending the ambassadors or other members of the embassies, but also, for us to bring more people from those respective countries. I think that's something we are hoping we are going to do, and we are going to continue to make a lot more effort. Thank you.
Thank you,
Please, is it a very quick one because we are really pressed for time?
Yeah, let me hide on that. And I want to personally appreciate your package for the program. For the African technology at the present stage, with the quality of package this program for present assessment, you are second to none. And I want to commend you for the package of this program. I saw it online and I clicked by it. All is online.
Thank you.
And it's a sign that we are making progress with what we have actually witnessed here today. I will continue to witness there. I appreciate you. The future of African technology lies on education. And education is proxy in about 4 or 5 categories. Knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. These are the proxy of education. And if you want to key into the development of African technology or African science in technology, emphasis should be given to the key area of the proxy of education. Because I look at the emphasis on skill development. Skill development. It's not blending. And that is why the university have to come in. I'm a doctoral student at the Nigeria University, Oka, Anambra State, doing my thesis with focus on technology, information technology. That is where I'm majoring my this is. So any conference, any workshop across the globe on technology, I have to be here to get experience because I'm researching on Nigerian technological companies, their impact on their economy, whether they are having positive impact that lead development, just like what Dr. Chris has actually mentioned. We were together last November at the Nigerian conference. And the question is very simple. The way and manner you brought in all these companies to support this program is thoughtful and is commendable. And I actually want you to use that strategy to draw them
to universities to support to support them in terms of research grant. Because outside the TED fund that give research grant to staff of the universities, there are no windows for students, either from companies or other this thing that I don't know. I wrote for a research grant to a very big government parastatal. They were laughing at me. They were laughing at me and they said, I begin to wonder, because my friends who are doing their PhD in Australia and other parts of the world, the university have a desk, because the company have a desk here that there are funds for research grants in terms of attending conferences abroad or financing a PhD research. Because if you are talking about technology in the future as regards to Africa, education must come in. And you must support grant. Because these companies are a product of innovations of ideas of some people that metamorphose to this company. And that is by the way. So emphasis should be given to education. And lastly, the package for this program, I do not see, because we are talking about the present, the past, the present, and the future. In the future, what are the components of possible consequences, what that can truncate the technology of Africa in the future? We have to build it, because I've gone through the program. Cyber security, cyber fraud is a danger to our technology. So
thank you.
For the whole world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to the end of this session. Sorry, my brother. Sorry, we don't have time again. We've come to the end of this session. It's been a good one. Let me just say, in closing, that yes, we had a glorious past with regard to science and technology in Africa, but somehow we missed the road. There are so many explanations, for why that happened. So many schools of thought for why that happened. But somehow we need to do something. We need to do something, about it. As our brother Adeni said, in doing something, the government just have to be involved in planning the whole thing, and as Chris said, involved in also determining what it is we are going to do. In his own case, we need to develop, of course, but we need to know what kind of development. We need to dimension it properly, and we need to make sure we pursue it with vigor. We need to pursue things with vigor, with a sense of urgency. I just don't know how to make sure that I emphasize on this a lot more. I know our friend, okay, he's gone. Demola Adekomo pointed out we've done a lot. We have a lot of talented people. We're doing okay. We can do more. But we need to be able to do a lot more, because the world we are living in today, look at all those technologies of the fourth industrial revolution I talked about. They are all being fabricated in the laboratories of the West and the East. A lot more are being fabricated. So all the systems we're all going to live with that will underpin and determine the kind of societies we're going to have in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years, are being fabricated in laboratories of other climes. What are we doing about it? Why should we always continue to be users of those technologies? And mind you, as they say, Professor Arnold Pesi says, every technological artifact you see has an embedded technology, embedded culture rather. You get every piece of technology you see has an embedded culture with it. So are we going to just sit down and only be users of technologies that are creating a new type of culture that were fabricated in the laboratories of other places of the world? We need to take this as we speak, as with people like Michukaku, Professor Michukaku of City University in New York, is saying that they are even exploring other planets to make them habitable, for human habitation. You get it? Should we just sit here and this kind of new world is being created? You know, we are trying, yes, but I think we need to do a lot more with a sense of urgency. Thank you very much.
Moderator, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
I think the take home, we need to have a take home here. When you diagnose a problem, what's our way forward in technology mastery? Are we going to meet competition through the hardware interface or through the software interface, the knowledge base? Africa must chart a direction. You cannot sit on that. What's your advantage? If you want to compete on technology, you don't just want to compete because you are Africa. You compete from your point of competence. What is our point of competence? I think is the knowledge where is the software. And there has to be a national continental African continent policy to go massively and put 100,000 or 500,000 eggheads, kids, in software development, in software marketing, in digital realm and whatever. That's the way we can fight back so that we can control our destiny. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank
Everybody,
you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Please put your hands together as they leave the stage. Okay, group photo first. Well, it's been said, it's all been said. There's nothing as beautiful as when knowledge, experiential knowledge is being shared by people who know. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We appreciate you. Please a round of applause as they exit. Thank you. We are going straight to the next session. And without wasting much time, I'll go straight to introducing the panel, the panelists for the next session. In no particular order, I will announce them, and I hope they are here seated to take their place on the side of the divide. He is a serial entrepreneur and a tech-savvy marketer with vast experience in business development, project management, content development, and application development. He co-founded several successful startups such as Emerge Tech Africa, an international information technology firm, and Startup Arewa, a sustainable development platform. He is the head of business development at VoguePay International, a founding director at Young CEO Business Forum, and a board member of Young Innovators Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as I make welcome Mohammed Ibrahim Jega. Please put your hands together in appreciation. You are most welcome, sir. Welcome. Now, before I announce the next panelists, I'd like to briefly throw out some information. We first of all want to apologize for how the schedule was somehow disrupted today. We started behind schedule. We want to apologize for that. Tomorrow's meeting starts by 10 a.m. and the first 100 people are going to get a gift, as we will be listening to our keynote speaker, Senator Ben Morris Bruce. Please make it a date with us tomorrow. Also, if you have your national ID card, or if you haven't gotten your national ID card, we have NIMSI out there at the exhibition stand, and they are going to see to that need of yours. And we are expecting road safety tomorrow for those who need to sort out their driver's license and all that. So please make it a date with us tomorrow. 10 a.m. is the time. Keynote speaker, Senator Ben Morris Bruce, who always makes common sense. I am going to introduce the next speaker. She is a seasoned professional in the IT service industry. She serves as the managing director of Future Software Resources Nigeria Limited, Under leadership, the company has been strategically rebranded and refocused on 3 core areas. And with these areas she focused on, she has established herself as one of the top IT solution providers in Nigeria. Simply put, she's a change catalyst. Let's make welcome the very beautiful and very intelligent Nkem Dilim Bego. Put your hands together. Let it be resounding, please. I know how tired we are, but... Next on line is somebody I know personally. He's a member of my family. I'm not going to bring the family matter here, but I would just like to give a short story about him. From the day I met him, we became, we knew each other. I've never seen him go lower than the first 2 in class. His intelligence is almost beyond explanation. It's almost frightening, but it has brought him to a place where he is making impact in his society through the channel, through the place he's, been placed officially. His name is Dr. Otonyo Mangite. Is he here from NASDA? Please put your hands together. Please put your hands together and make welcome this young, mind-shifting young man. You're most welcome. He asked me not to say much about him. The next person who is going to be a coordinator for this session. But I will just bust his bubble a little bit. He is currently the founder of Network of Incubators and Innovators in Nigeria. Currently also managing Inspire Business Incubator, a technology-focused business incubator center under the Abuja Technology Village. He redesigned and set up the existing platforms with its repurposed areas of focus. I would like to go more, I would like to say more, but for time, I will just ask you to please put your hands together as I make welcome Bankole Olorutuba of Inspire. Yes, you will. Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and hello, everybody, too. Thank you for having the patience to listen to us. We are much of a more younger group than the last group before now, so our analysis might not be too, in-depth as, Prof. or Dr. Waji has done for us. It's always a, beautiful thing listening to Dr. Waji and the rest. My name is Bankole Olorutuba. I run Inspire Incubator and Network of Incubators in Nigeria. And this panel is here to talk to you around, to have a brief discussion around technopreneurship and the African Renaissance era, largely around the business side of technology. So we'll be focusing this discussion from, several points of view, from startup development, entrepreneurship, capacity development and skills, and also policy. And I will give each and everyone, just before we start, about a minute to tell us what they've done so far, and how does this theme connect to what you have to say. I'll start with you, Nkem.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Nkem Bell, and I've been in Futuresoft for the last 10 years. So I've been in the technology space in Nigeria since there pretty much was no technology space in Nigeria. And people will argue with that, but you have to remember this comes from the young people, right? So our perspective is a little bit different. And it's been an amazing journey, and I think, for me, the most exciting thing is that we are finally, at this place where the world is watching what's happening in the African technology space, and very specifically in the Nigerian technology space. And we've seen big tech companies like Facebook and Google come into Nigeria, and we've seen funding from, a lot of big organizations and VC funds come into Nigeria as well. So, the developments are definitely positive, and I see that there's, a lot of growth that's happening. My biggest fear, however, is that the policy environment is not ready. My second fear is that our investors are not ready because they do not understand technology, so they don't invest in it. If you say, come and invest in my yam farm, very easy. You harvest yam this month, sell it the next month, you can give me my money back or give me part of my money back, right? With technology, the time frames are a bit longer, the risks might seem a bit higher, especially if you don't understand it. So a lot of the funding that is coming into Nigerian startups is foreign funding. And for me, this is, and this is across Africa, and I find that this is a very, very big issue because, it's true. Some of the incubators that are coming from Silicon Valley, they will tell you, okay, come into our incubator, then move your company to Silicon Valley, pretty much become an American company, and then we'll give you funding. Here's $10 million, dangle it in front of you. Who's going to say no to that? Who? It's very, very difficult, right? Because there's nobody in Africa that is dangling the same 10 million in front of you. And by us not investing in our own technology means that we lose ownership. The minute we lose ownership means that, again, we're robbed of everything that, we say we want to reclaim. And this whole renaissance and the rebirth is not going to happen simply because we don't have ownership, right? And this happens across, all different industries that are technology driven. And for me, it's something that we need to be very, very careful about, and that we need to actually really focus on. And there has to be an education of local investors, right? So there are some local investors like the Lagos Angel Network, and I know that they've just founded the Abuja Angel Network as well. So these are, very great, developments. However, the funding that they can raise is still, at minimum, and it's usually at seed level, and that means that when you want to scale past that, what happens? You then have to go again and look for foreign investment, and then you will lose a big chunk of ownership, right? So we all know the Andela story. Andela founded by Nigerians, and suddenly it's an international company, kind of, not Nigerian owned anymore. And the narrative in the press, a lot of Nigerians were very offended by it when, the Chan Zuckerberg initiative invested, in it, I think last year or the year before. And, they were like, no, but we know the guy is him, but yeah, it's what is written that is known. Yeah, and it is what is in the press. That is what everybody's going to believe. So nobody's going to know that the origin was African. And it's the same thing that we've been talking about basically all since the morning. We do not document, so we don't have ownership of our history. And if we don't document and actually are intentional about ownership, we will also not have ownership of our future. Thank you.
That's true. Thank you very much, Nkem. And all the secrecy in the things we do, everybody do things a little bit under the shadows. So nobody wants to say, I'm the right person behind this. So, Jega, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to appreciate the conveners of this event for being focused and consistent. This is the 6th year, right? Congratulations with you and your team for putting up this for us, because we believe we are stakeholders in the IT industry. This is always a platform for us to showcase what we have and also meet other people, network, and exchange ideas. My name is Mohammed Ibrahim. doing a lot. We have over 100 merchants on our platform, and that really gave me a lot of courage for me to be able to see the need for me to also add value to the system. As somebody who is from the north, who I know in terms of education, in terms of information well left behind, I took it upon myself to see how I can give back to the society in terms of creating, unlocking the potentials of that northern ecosystem, by sharing knowledge to young people, bringing them, mentoring them, giving them a sense of belonging and direction. So a couple of years ago, we started it like a joke in a small boot camp, in a mini meetup session in different cities in the north. Now, it's emerged to start up Arewa, which has launched in 11 cities in the north, which we have trained over 50,000 young people, which have also educated and scaled up over 1,000 startups with partnership with Inspire Incubator and several hubs in the north. What we're doing in Startup Arewa is to see how we can be able to conscientize young people, educate them, mentor them, because we believe that we have a lot of talent in this country, which is talent, no direction. Nobody is talking to them. And we saw the need for us to bridge that barrier, because we understood that the government can't do it alone. The government can't go everywhere. I've been to every nooks and crannies of this country. And technology has no religion or region. But I told my fellow partners and friends that, see, if we stay in the center, Lagos or Abuja, keep doing things, there's a serious time bomb coming. And this time bomb, we can solve it if we don't engage these young people at the early stage. So we now create that hub. I was one of the founders of Startup Squares. Biola, I think he was here earlier. He's a convener. And also there's Startup South, which is owned by EngageTv, and there's Startup Southeast, which is owned by Kingsley. We divided ourselves to go back to the nooks and crannies, to hatch ideas, to incubate, to mentor young people right from the grassroots. Then we now bring them up when they're done. And now, sincerely, there's so much vibrant ecosystem. There's Startup Anambra, there's Startup Port Harcourt, there's Startup Kaduna, there's Startup Kano, there's Startup Yarwa, there's Startup Sokoto. We just did Startup Kebbi. Over 2,000 young people attended, converged. It's something that it's really amazing. And we've seen raw talents by going there. So that really gave me the deep insight to understand that Africa is entrepreneurs' paradise. Because I believe that we only know how to solve our problems. We have to look inside to be able to solve our problems. A lot is happening at the peripheral. I'm a strong advocate of taking tech out of Lagos. I'm a product of Lagos in the late 90s, but I'm now a strong advocate of taking tech out of Lagos. Because I realized that when I visited Ibadan, a lot of young people don't tap from those opportunities for coming to Lagos. When it comes to one small circle in Yaba, share it among themselves, and that is all. And they promote themselves as if they are the best. But if you go to Ibadan, as close as Ibadan, you see raw talent in Ibadan. Fantastic young people with destructive solution. Nobody is talking to them. These are young people who started these ideas, incubated these ideas because they've got mentorship from, because there's, technology has become part and parcel of our life. Everybody they have internet, they go online to see what's happening. So they now mentor themselves, self-mentorship. So these are the kind of ideas that are really, and young people will concentrate on getting them, going down to the grassroots to mentor them, to bridge the gap. That made me become a tech evangelist. Of recent, I've traveled all over, even West Africa, trying to mentor young people and tell them that they should stop relying on preparing the CVs going for anything. There's so much to do. There's so much opportunity. There's virgin opportunity in Africa. Even those people who invest there, they get traction here. The kind of FDIs Africa has been able to attract, over $1 billion for recent. And we have the most potential, most promising economy now that is really not untapped, still untapped, with all the other is doing. And believe me sincerely, there's so much might around this. So much might. This we can't think, we can't innovate. They say we don't know how to do anything, we only buy products and what have you. There's so much, but it's changing. The truth is that we have the most fantastic innovation now. Mark Zuckerberg came to Nigeria. We're one of the people that were sitting in Abuja here. When we shared our story about what is happening in the Nigerian tech ecosystem, he was amazed. He said, Mr. Mo, I came here to search for talent. That is fact. They realize that they have a developed economy, they are organized, they are comfortable, but here, because of our lack of complete social amenities and functional system, has made us wake up. And we are awake looking for opportunities. So young people are creating opportunities among themselves. I was in Stars in Geneva, Switzerland, last couple of weeks, and believe me, sincerely, one interesting story is that among all the startups that competed, this is one of the biggest startup events in Europe. Africa was number one. A Ghana startup solving problem with agriculture. Best startup. He won $500,000 grant. And one of the top 5 startups was a Nigerian startup, an educational startup. And there was a lady also who won the prize for the woman in tech. So you see, there's so much young people now telling our story outside the world, trying to tell them that we're no more those people that you normally think of, where no things are changing. We have the game changers, the likes of Andela. They've changed the system in the African context at all. The lack of VoPay has created has unlocked that barrier in terms of bringing payments. Because we have our head office in UK, in London, Canary Wharf, because we have been working closely with the Nigerians in diaspora. And we understand that they have a serious barrier, a serious challenge bringing money into the country. So we created that switch access to them to bring money easily into the country. And that has really helped them solve a lot of problems. So things like this are happening. The likes of Jumia, they're doing a lot. And now we have promising startups who are now looking forward to also change the narrative. Very soon you'll hear about our product that we're doing. It's one of the features solutions, a blockchain. We're trying to decentralize the land system in Africa. There's so much opportunities for us to look at. We have so much problems. So when you solve that problem, that's when you are now into business.
Thank you very much. I'm sure if we allow you going further, you might just take us deeper into the whole concept around workplace. Dr. Otoye, I know it was a very short, but from everybody that I asked about you, everybody kept saying, talk to Dr. Otoye. Dr. Otoye, we are talking to you.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry we are late. I'm Otoye Mangite. I have a PhD in computational art systems. All that means is that I work with supercomputers from morning to night. That's all I do. I just program them, solve equations, and make pretty movies with them. Now I work for the government, so I don't have any nice stories to say about startups and the rest. But I do work with a lot of young people, young and young at heart. People who are working in technology, mostly computing and hardware and software. And with that, you find out that the technology space in Nigeria, you can have a pretty good view about what is happening. The first thing is that you immediately get hit by the lack of infrastructure. It hits you in the face. You can't really do anything because you don't have power, you don't have equipment, you don't have even programmers. Now, I like to call this the Swiss cheese analogy. Anywhere you go in the world, I've been fortunate to travel quite a bit, you notice that there's always an African, and most likely to be Nigerian, doing something exceptional. But you do not see a group of Nigerians who have ever taken over an industry. Not that way you go into Silicon Valley and you see that 40-something% of the people are Asian, and 25% of them are Chinese or Chinese origin. You don't see that. They are still from the days of my father when he went abroad and I went abroad. It's still the same thing. We're still talking about a single individual going out there and excelling and nothing else is following. The problem, I feel, is that we are not answering that question of why that is. Why that is. Now, if you work with young people like I do, you find out that you have, as can't get anything really done because sometimes you want to set up a cloud computing system and you have no network engineer. And the education system, as much as it's knocked on the head, whether you like it or not, it is there to produce people who produce a specific thing. So if you go abroad, you find out most people that program supercomputers never saw the computer they were programming in their entire life. They programmed it for 6 years and they never even, it was not in the same town. I've had that experience myself. I've also had the converse experience where I've been in the room where the computer was working. But I was lucky. Most people don't see these things. Most people don't know. So if you get somebody and you say, oh, he knows how to program computers, and you bring him to Nigeria and you stick him in a room, you find that he can't do much because he can't do the rest of the work that was being done on the, below the surface. That's what is known generally as in science as the iceberg knowledge. You see only 10% of the iceberg. 90% is below. Now, all we seem to be focusing on, I've been to Africa quite a while, is that we keep on focusing on the 10% on the top. We don't focus on 90% below. Whether we like it or not, we still need electricity. We still need people to make things. Even if we wanted to run a software economy, we still need to produce the computers. Even if we do that, we have to have a way of, as you have pointed out, we need to hide our stuff. Even if we decide to do only software, we need to be able to hide it, hide our intellectual property, so we use that to trade. That has to be done somehow. I'm hoping that we may come up with some answers today.
To myself.
Yeah.
So, coming back to you, Nkem. So in Vivotech, I was in Vivotech last week, right? I had this short meeting with Rebecca Enochong, just a short, brief discussion. And the same point you came up with around foreign investors taking the lead and local investors not seeing the need until the foreign investor comes. How do you think this can change?
Okay, so I think that there has to be a lot of education for local investors because it's not like there's no money here. We have the money because there are being investments done in other sectors. And I think it's really to demystify technology as a sector and explain to people, okay, this is what you're actually investing in because it's not tangible, right? If I tell you I have a factory and I manufacture, I don't know, cashews or something, it's easy for you. You can come to the factory, you can see. You can say, okay, Kem has 400 staff, okay, this is what she's doing. But with technology, it's not tangible. It's, hardware, which most young people are not going to go into because it just takes too much money, right? So it's explaining to investors how technology actually works and what the benefits are, for economic development. Because I think that there are also a lot of impact investors in Nigeria that are not just looking to invest to, get high returns, but also to make an impact in society. And, but they lack that. There's that disconnect. Like, okay, what am I really putting my money in? And then, there are also a lot of young people who are going around saying, oh, I have this idea for an app and I need this and I need that. That then you give them some money and then suddenly it's like, oh, the money has finished. Like, yeah, we're bankrupt, we're broke, we're folding up the company. So there are people who have been scarred as well, right? Even though it's with small amounts. So how do you also, sort of differentiate between, okay, this is a serious startup to invest in if you don't understand what they're even doing, right? So the foreign investment companies, they know, because they know what they're looking for, and they're looking for that one unicorn company, right? So they know if they have, I don't know, a fund of, let's say, $50 million, if they invest, $2 million in 25 startups, they're going to find that one unicorn that's going to give them billions of dollars back, right? But they know what they're looking for. They have created a world is looking at this is innovative. Why are we using old technology to solve problems, right?
Would you say these are the kind of reasons why? Because I mean, quite a number of people have asked me, why don't we have a unicorn in Nigeria? Mm-hmm. Can you help me answer that question?
So I think that number one, so I think it's a mix of different things, right? So part of it is skill and capacity, right? You can be, really, really good, but if you do not have people that you can hire that are really, really good, then it becomes a problem, right? And in as much as Andela is training developers, they're not training for the local market. So there is, until those first Andelans graduate in 4 or 5 years, then they now come into the labor market, right? But they will be very expensive. They have global experience. They can go work anywhere in the world, right? So we have no guarantee that they will even work in the Nigerian economy. And on top of that, they will probably found their own companies, right? So what do we do in between, right? Where is that skill that we actually need in order to scale properly, in order to, grow really, really fast? It's, for me, it's, very sad when you look at, for example, the Conga story, right? That company, and its founder, were doing amazing work, but the environment was not enabling, right? And if you don't have a war chest filled with money that you can burn through without thinking about it, right? Then you will fail at some point, right? And I think that, a lot of it, so there's that capacity building aspect, then there's the policy aspect. Our government, with all due respect, creates policies that are counterproductive. And they are most of the time reactive as well. So I co-own an insurance startup, and when we started, there was no regulation in terms of what you can do online. And we basically issue policies online, insurance policies online. And the regulator has now come up with a license fee that you have to pay every year to provide online insurance services, right? This means that they have now created a barrier to entry for anybody else that wants to come in that sector. We are there, we're making money, it's fine, right? That license fee is 5 million naira. Now think about it. You're not going to break even till maybe year 5. That's 25 million naira. 25 million naira that you have to have before you've even built a solution. Who's going to give you that money? Where is that coming from? Why does this policy exist? How do we want to grow our economy using technology if we put these kind of hurdles in the way? Our government does not think. They just look at short term. We're not thinking long term. We're not thinking about, okay, this kind of company, if we, first of all, let's give them a tax break. Let's make sure that, they have access to whatever funding and grants that they might need, right? Because every company that wants to scale needs money. And then they will provide employment. They will provide training. They will right? They're not looking at that, because a company like this company can provide employment to a minimum of 500 people, right? 500 people is a lot of people when we're talking about unemployment of 30%. However, when you're charging us a license fee of 5 million naira a year, we're going to keep our workforce as small as possible, because we don't know what next policy you're going to come up with, what the next thing is that you're going to throw in our way so that we will not succeed. And that enabling environment is what other countries have gotten right? So they've created policies, they've created funding, they've created capacity building opportunities, right? So, okay, we have to train our own people, we have to fund our own stuff, we have to then still pay you because you're the government. So, for me, those are the factors that make it really, really hard. And if you talk to entrepreneurs in, any sector, that have startups, they will tell you these are things that the challenges that we're facing, and, that's also stopping them from growing as fast as they could. And then obviously there are all the other Nigerian factors, no light, no water, no this, no that, you're providing your own infrastructure. So the odds are against you, and then people are still there throwing stones at you. It's like you want to walk on a catwalk, and you want to walk really nice and straight, but there are people throwing all sorts of things from the sidelines. How are you going to walk like Naomi Campbell? You're never going to. You're not going to be that unicorn, right?
Thank you very much, Nkem. But just to hold that thought, because I'm still going to come back to you on several things. So, Tony, I'd like to ask you this: around the aspect of capacity building, right? Conducive environment. I mean, you worked with supercomputers for what? A few years.
Yeah.
I mean, coming back, I'm sure you miss your supercomputers, right?
Yeah.
Now, my question is simple, like in this aspect, how do you think this skill gap that can fit tech businesses or tech entities that can become that unicorn or that global business in Nigeria, how do you think we can fill up that space? I mean, in tangible terms, what do you think should happen?
Well, I think, and this is a personal opinion, from just by working in both in the UK, US, and Nigeria, that the skill gap can only be filled by making the work practical. Most of the time, the students don't know what they are, the link between what they are reading and what they are doing. That's just the problem. That's why you hear Nigerian schools are bad and Nigerian schools are bad. If I may, I'll give you a short story. There was an electronic engineering student, very brilliant chap. He was on a 2-1 going to first class. And we asked him to design a simple circuit to light up an LED lamp. And the thing was this: we didn't allow him to copy the circuit. We changed some of the parameters, so he had to design the circuit, and he was lost. Now, this is a brilliant chap. He wasn't stupid in any way. But I now had to start and sit with him, and then I asked him a simple question, whether he understood what the discharge time of the capacitor was. Because you needed a capacitor, it held the charge, and then it discharged the current to light up the light. He didn't know. So I now gave him the equation of the distance. We started walking through it, and he said the first thing he did was, when he solved the equation, found out it was an exponential curve. It went up like that. So the thing goes, and then pew, the light comes on. So it's like an alarm bulb. So he said, he solved this equation in year 2. He didn't know what it was for. Because apparently, when they solved the equation, there was a strike or something, and then they moved to the next thing, and he never completed that class, though he was given an exam. You see, stuff like that impedes development. People don't understand what it is for. You have people asking, okay, we want to build a bridge. Why do we need the calculus? I'm telling you things that I hear all the time. They're not stupid. They don't know why they have to learn the calculus and differential equations, because they don't see how you use it to build a bridge. They don't know that you need to know about calculus in order to design computers. They have no idea. It doesn't come in. So at each point, the school is seen as something that is completely different from the workplace, which should never be the case. So it is that needs to be solved. You have to bridge that gap, because in the Nigerian sense, I've got a certificate, therefore I know. No. Certificate just says that you have spent this amount of time knowing. If you haven't spent that amount of time knowing, you don't know. And that is the problem. So you find out that most of the time, I've talked to employers as well. They don't want to employ Nigerians because they spend a lot of time training them. Now, during that training, someone explained to me very simply, said, during that point he's training, I'm training this chap to do this work. He's useless to me. He's not helping me make money. So I'm just paying him and training him all over again. And sometimes just to make connections. It's not to teach him anything. To make connections between what he already knows. Yes. So you must have a complete curriculum. And if you are going to train people like electronic engineers and what's it called, the studies must be complete, so that you know that if you are getting this person is here to do this. It's basically Ford's assembly line principle. There are two ways of doing things. You either find a polymath that can do everything, or you find a bunch of normal people who can do one simple thing at a time. It's easier to do the second than the first.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Nkem, I want to ask you around, what do you think private sector can do around the development of the tech industry? But just before I do that, I'd like to ask Jega, so that you can down this a little bit. So, Jega, my question for you is this, right? you've been around building the capacity and the ecosystem, for younger people to be able to play in a conducive space. Ignoring government, what do you think could have happened a lot faster to make this a more conducive environment for us all to grow?
Ignoring government. Okay.
We could go ahead and say about all the things government could have done better, but let's just ignore government. Let's just hang government somewhere for a while. And let's just think, what else do you think could have been done in terms of collaboration? I mean, there's that word that is hard to see, just like he said, a group, a conglomerate of Africans in one place, trying to achieve something superficial. So do you think that is true?
Yeah, I think to be very realistic, you see, from first-hand information, what we have been getting feedbacks, a lot of young people find it difficult for them to come together and also express themselves. So we always try to let know that you can work as a learner. You can work as a learner. So no matter how much information you have upstairs, no matter how much idea you have, you need to have a partner, you need to have a co-founder. If you are a good coder, you need somebody to partner with you so that he can help you do the pitching. He is a good marketer. So that's why you support each other. So a lot of them, it's a quite difficult stage because you see, working in this startup ecosystem is something that is very, very challenging because a lot of them feel we are already there. We're targeting, Mark Zuckerberg is our mentor. We have to be there. We also have an idea. We can turn our things upside down. So, but it's beyond that. We need to have a space whereby they need to sit down. That is incubation hubs. So we need to have collaboration with incubation. A lot of them have it very difficult sitting down together to understand the need for them, the business development, business model canvas. They don't even know it. They just coded something and say, this is my idea. But if they are incubated in a hub, it will help them get mentorship and prepare their idea, mold it, shape it to growth and also to be able to meet up global standard. So I feel hubs are going to play a major role in that. Before stakeholders need to collaborate with hubs, and also people in that ecosystem also need to identify the people who need to. It has to still be government, sincerely. You see, we can't.
But I really want us to ignore government in this.
No, we can't really ignore government. Sincerely, no matter what it takes, there's a certain level in it because there's certain amenities. You mentioned the tax haven and everything. Government need to give that because government have not been encouraging innovations in Nigeria. It has not been done so.
So the earlier panel, Dr. Waja said something around, building or creating innovation or developing or creating innovation for your own company and not just looking at an America or a UK. Do you think that lack of global mentorship in the size of Zuckerberg and Larry Page or the Google guys together and name them all, do you think lack of such size of companies in Nigeria is causing some of this growth within our ecosystem?
No and yes. No, in the sense that, you see, basically you need to have someone to connect with. Most like a lot of these young people, for example, let me use the Google developer community that have been coming together. Google create a platform for them, and they use it as a convergence for them to meet, sensitize, educate, and also share knowledge among themselves. Google has created that platform for them. Follow is there. You understand? Facebook Developer Schools is there. So they need a connect because Nigeria, because of our critical mass, it's very, very difficult for us to coordinate, conscientize everybody at a blow. You understand? We can be here in Abuja. There's somebody in Taraba, we don't know what he's doing. The one in Port Harcourt, don't know what he's doing, and the one in Ogomosho. So we need to have a platform that they can look up to, so that they can use it as a sense of connecting factor. So companies like this need to have a strong footing there. They will leverage on that. Young developers will now use it as an avenue of trying to look at the growth in development. They'll now see how they can come closer, get mentorship, and also have something like an in-house training, because most of them use the CSR to help young innovators. So I feel it's a yes and also a no. Yeah, it's a two-sided.
All right, great. So, okay, now, what do you think around that?
Okay, so I think that the private sector can actually play multiple roles, right? One of them is actually giving internship opportunities to students who are in school, right? And not as the, oh, I have to do IT, no. Something that is where you go into an organization every summer, right? And, you know, or you go into different organizations. And these things happen all over the world, right? In schools that are in Europe and America, you have to do internships from when you're in secondary school. They tell you this summer, go and do an internship. If you don't, then, you know, you're not going to pass your course. It's as easy as that. It's mandatory. And we don't have that here. And, you know, we kind of find ways around all of these things. So I've posted my IT to my uncle's company. What am I doing? I'm sleeping in my house. You know, and I feel like, no, it's true. And the, you know, the young people, you know, when we're talking about, you know, the disconnect between, they know the theory, they don't know the practical. My biggest problem is that our educational system has conditioned our youth not to be curious. Because if you were curious, you would go and find out. What am I even learning? How can you be sitting there from morning to night for how many years? 5 years, 4 years? And they're teaching you all sorts of different equations. You don't know what you're going to do with it. Are you, you know, like, you don't want to own your life? And I think, you know, that we need to really retool our youth, start thinking around, I own my life. This is what I want to do, and I want to do it because of this. And I speak to a lot of young people, and most of them have no plan. You know, oh, I want to do a master's. Okay, what for? What do you want to do with it? What are you doing the master's in? Oh, I'm not sure. I'm just going to do something, you know, estate surveying. Do you want to be an estate surveyor? No, but they said I should do a master's. You know, who is they, first of all? Secondly, what are you doing with it? You know, do you have too much time on your hands? You think that, you know, life is unending. And the root of it is how we parent in this country. We baby our children too much. I was talking to someone, and, you know, I was talking to my business partner, and he was complaining about one of our staff. And at the time, the guy was 22. And he was like, but at 22, I've done this, I've done that. I said, yeah, calm down. You grew up in the UK. You've been working since you were 12. At 22, you had 10 years of work experience. This boy just started working. What do you want him to know? How is he supposed to have skills, right? And this is where our parents go wrong. My child, you can never sell lemonade. You cannot do work as a waiter. You cannot do this. No, come, let me baby you. Come and stay at home. Read your books. Read your books to what end? You're not learning any skills. You're not going to be ready for the business market, for the, you know, private sector, because you come in there, you tell me you want to earn 250,000, but you know nothing. Then I'm now going to train you on top of that. Then you're going to give me attitude on top of that. And you're not going to be willing to learn on top of that as well, because, as he said, I have a certificate. I am somebody already, right? So we need that learning culture that goes beyond, I'm just going to write an exam and pass it, you know. We need that learning culture that is where we question, where we actually say, okay, this is why I'm doing something. And this is something that I think the private sector can help with, whereby the private sector, and this goes across any industry, it doesn't have to be technology, our entrepreneurship stories need to be told more, right? People like Dangote need to tell us, this is where I started from, this is what I do every day, these are my daily habits. Why is it that we can, you know, go and find the daily habits of Jack Ma, we can find the daily habits of Mark Zuckerberg, our own people who are successful, the richest man in Africa, we don't know what his daily habits are. We don't know what are the things that make him successful because he's not sharing. He's not telling his story. Or maybe nobody's asking him, right? So it's very, very important, because if you look at platforms like Harvard Business Review, they're constantly interviewing entrepreneurs, right? And some of it is 3-minute videos that you can watch, but they are so impactful, and there's always knowledge there. And then you can say, oh, I'm not doing this. Let me start doing this and see what will happen. Let me do this and see what will happen, right? So on one side, it's an inquisitive youth, and then on the other side, it's actually sharing more knowledge and documenting more of our stories. a lot of us are very afraid of sharing the humble beginnings where, somebody comes to ask you for 200 naira and is the last 200 naira in your pocket. And you're thinking, but this person thinks I'm a big man or a big woman. How will I not give? And then you give and then you have nothing, right? But you're not going to go on stage somewhere and say, there were times where I had just 200 naira and I gave it to somebody and I didn't even know how I was going to eat. And now I went to go to my parents' house to eat or something like that. We're not sharing those stories because, for us it's like, nobody should know about that part. But that's the reality of entrepreneurship. That's the reality of starting small. That's the reality of humble beginnings, So I think we just need to be a little bit more real with, our expectations and, the things that we can do. And then also deliberately train, deliberately, give opportunities to young people to come into our companies and intern. And the young people, on the other hand, need to understand, you come as an intern, you're not going to get money. If we give you transport and feeding allowance, that should be enough. And you should be hungry enough, right? So I'm reading this book, and it says, it's about organizational culture. And there's an organization that they're talking about that the guy says that people in his organization must be hungry, humble, and smart, right? And that hungry part is what a lot of people lack, because they know that my daddy will give me pocket money, he will take care of me. Even if I'm 35, I can still live in my parents' house. Abroad, when you're 16, are you moving out soon? No, it's true. So let's stop babying our kids.
All right, thank you very much. Just one last line before we leave and I ask for questions. The concept of open innovation. Over the years, in developed, systems, you see that companies don't have the answers to everything. Companies don't expect consultants and their staffs to have answers to everything. Hence the concept of open innovation, whereby you can throw your challenge and your problems across, a multitude of 180 million people. Now, still this problem of people not sharing information or not sharing challenges or problems. Do we think that open innovation will work in Nigeria? One. And now the second point is this. If you've got a question, we're going to take just two. And we'll like, to just identify one or two people. I'll prefer a lady and a gentleman. And actual questions, please. No comments, just actual questions around this. Doctor, sir. Okay, sir, I'll take you. Should I take you, sir? Okay, doctor, one for you. Who else? Okay, this gentleman here behind the doctor. Okay, I'll take three. The lady at the back. Sorry, sir. The lady at the back. Okay, so open innovation, do we think it can work in this country? Because, so the concept of telling everybody what your problem is and let everybody find solutions to your problem, do we think it's something that can work around here?
I think gradually it can work because, so if we look at, I can only talk for the, the tech system in Lagos, for example, but people who run companies, we share a lot.
Lagos is where the headquarters is of everybody, so.
And CEOs talk amongst each other, and they share, okay, I'm dealing with this, I have no clue how to solve this, right? So there is a little bit of, obviously it's still in a trusted circle, so to say, but I think that, it will widen because we're realizing that the answer to our questions, might not be in Lagos. It might be somewhere in Abuja, it might be in Port Harcourt, like you said. We don't know what the people are doing. There might be solutions that already exist, have already been created. But it's really, so I think it's number one, also about how do we amplify innovation more. He was talking about the people in Badon that have amazing ideas, and amazing technology. And, when it comes to like blockchain and cryptocurrency, Badon is the hub of that. And, the first question would be, really? Why? FinTech, Lagos, but it's not. And, being able to, so what's the difference, right? The guys in Lagos just know how to use PR. That's the only difference, right? Yeah, the journalists are there, everybody's there, right? So if you're doing something amazing, it needs to be amplified. So how do you amplify that? Because then it's also easier for me to say, if you say, oh, I have this problem, then it's easier for me to say, oh, you know what? I read about this startup in Kogi State. This is what they're doing. Maybe you should look them up and contact them. But if you don't even know what they're doing, then you will never find them, right? So it's also, I think part of, training startups is also train them on how to gain visibility, right? Digital marketing is something that they can do in-house, and just get them to actually start thinking about, okay, I have my solution now, what next, right? So it's not just about, oh, let me go and pitch it to, my end users, but let me put it out there and let people actually know about it, and PR is an amazing tool to do that.
What do you think? What's your point of call?
Yeah, for me, I think it's something that needs to be encouraged, because I know NIME is doing a lot in terms of activating. This will help promote young innovations and also skills, because what I feel, just to add up from what my co-presenter said about skills, I'm somebody who believes my skills pay my bills. So I'm more of a certificate, not a certificate person. So I don't value you based on your certificate. If you don't have even a certificate, I don't care. But if you can do something hands-on, show me your capacity and your skills, what you can do. These are the kind of people we encourage. And based on our advocacy, we've been trying to let young people know that there's so much to do out there in terms of innovation and also skills. So they need to also develop themselves. And I feel this is another thing that will call for NIME to really scale up what you're doing. You understand, to take it out of Abuja and bring it to other nooks and crannies. Yeah, it's true. You guys are in Abuja, you're always doing things in Abuja. So I have to throw it back to you. Definitely, because I believe this is a good and it's doable. Lagos are doing it in a small circle. Abuja are doing it in a very smaller circle. So we need to open it, create more visibility, and also amplify it, create more awareness, and also let people share their stories. That's why we don't feel at times, we get stressed off partnering with business and also encouraging young people. But we have to do it. We have to go there and also give back to the society. So I feel it's a doable thing. Yeah.
Thank you for throwing back to us. Doctor, open innovation. Can it work around there?
I just want to say something. I find Nigeria very strange when people say that in Nigeria. I find it extremely strange, because the entire idea of sharing your problem depends on what type of problem it is. And there are only two. One in which you think you have a way of solving the problem. You never share that. And the other one where you have no idea how to solve it, and that's how you throw that one out in the problem. The sad part is that 95% of your problems, you have no idea how to solve it, so you throw it out there. Now, the strange part about Nigeria is that if you look at the entire social media scene, you find the artists, the poets, and the rest using this avenue to share their ideas and the rest. But you don't have a community of programmers, whether it is Python, PHP.
No, there is.
No, there is. That's what I'm getting. I'm not saying there isn't a Python, but you pointed out it's not about. We don't have somebody in Port Harcourt. They all will be living in Lagos, and they know themselves and be using the internet to communicate. But you don't have someone in Port Harcourt joining that cabal in Lagos, that cabal in Hood. I was part of a cabal in 1997. Programming, I was trying to put together my first cluster computer. And there was a guy in Canada, there was another one in Belgium. We've never met each other. There were like 6 or 7 people around the world who were answering questions I asked. I was asking. I was living in Port Harcourt. Nobody knew my name. We all had what they call different names. Yes. I just were talking about it. They didn't know who I said I had this problem and I was solving it. Now you are supposed to have that type of system in Nigeria. For the 95% of problems you cannot solve by yourself, and you have no idea of solving. But you don't. Instead, you have the social media people, the people in management and the rest, artists, and now the not too young to run people using social media, and that's technology. It's basically the technology we're talking about, to get young people together to force the government, the establishment, to lower the voting age. You don't have that with technology. Why is that? Why aren't we talking to one another? Is it because we are all in the same place and all closeted, or what's it called? Do we get new people in? That is actually a policy problem
counter to this. I have a because this is my industry, and for a little while, more than 5 years, I've been in touch with startups across, not even Nigeria, even across Africa, West Africa, Ghana, Rwanda, and Co. For this community, I want to mention this so that at least we appreciate young people. We Code, we call them We Code. They have a platform. They started like from a small meetup, and they invited me one time to just come and rub minds with them, and I told them to put on it, take it digital, so that the other one in Zaria, the one in Enugu can benefit, can be part of it. So they did that, like joke. They have over 2,000 members across the country. They even have members who are not even in Nigeria. Students who are studying in Rwanda, Kenya on the platform. When they have a challenge or problem, they put it up on that platform and people solve it. These guys started this thing on their own. Nobody told them, just few mentorship from us and guidance. That's what really helped them. They showed them and they got it right. So what I'm trying to say this is that we need to appreciate these young people. A lot of young people are doing amazing things. We need to appreciate them. They're not getting any support from anybody. Nobody's supporting them.
I'm not trying to say that they're not doing anything. I'm saying that this has to happen more. We are talking about how, as I said, you find a Nigerian somewhere. I've gone into people who are doing work with supercomputers. But we're all individuals.
Yes.
You don't see us coming into one place and doing
aside the Facebook thing.
Now, if you are not here, you will not know about this thing that has grown to 2,000 people. We need to have more of this. Then you will have the development unicorn you are talking about.
Very true.
So back to what Nkem said, application of everything. Some form of PR needs to work around creating some form of open source communities across board. For part of developers, I know that there is for Loop, there is Java users group. There's even that the users group for Facebook and the rest of them. So many of them are coming up with different clusters of different specifications. And if there's one thing we have seen in the whole history of building hubs and technology clusters across this country is in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll be seeing more industry specific kinds of clusters and even hubs particularly. I know someone was supposed to help him set up a digital media hub, just to curate stories and also create content around the Nigerian story or Nigerian narratives. Just like what Chief Aladekomo said about we not understanding our history. I used to give an analogy. Sometime I went to University of Ibadan, and I say everybody talks about Thor, Avenger, God of Lightning, blue eyes, tall, blonde hair, everything. But then people fail to recognize that Thor and Shango are the same people. And then the Nordic took Thor and then made him into a superhero, and then we demonized Shango. So the more we all begin to learn more around the clusters and create industry specific around the things that we do, I think it's likely going to open more around this open innovation and open sharing culture. All right, now back to our questions. Dr. Sir, will you start first? Thank you.
Let me just commend the panel. I've learned quite a lot. FinTech is here, supercomputing is here, and of course the entrepreneurship here, and of course the anchor. My question is, having accepted that government intervention, constructive government intervention is necessary for accelerating or as an accelerator, not giving you money really, but as an accelerator to spur up the whole adventure of engaging the global technology frontier. Do we think that the existing framework can have that effect to accelerate? Why I say this because with all humility, having pioneered the national policy for information technology in this country, I have fought and warned government that policy is just an overview of the concept of where, without, and where we're going. You need a national ICT framework as a legislative bill, And that would be a route. All what we've been doing really is you have cybersecurity law, you have ICT for NCC, there are branches we are talking about. And with branches, you can't hold firm, you can't sustain. I'm just asking, what type of legislations do we think we need to be able to create as a standard for us to move forward? And the second question, should we have a minority bid for startups in terms of the scheme of things of contracts that are happening around the country? Because somebody who has an equity of 5 million coming to bid for 500,000, doesn't go well. We need to have a segment where startups are segmented, and this is where they can bid until they can stay up, because they can earn money right away. A startup with 100,000 or 250,000 can be allowed to bid between 500,000 and 1 million. You guys, you see that they can spur up some innovation along that. So those are some of my points. Yeah. Yeah. The next.
So we're going to ask these questions really quick before we quickly treat them. Right? We have just about 10 more minutes to wrap this up. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nadi Buka. I'm a country manager for E-Commerce Foundation. My question is, I'm 22 Jega. When we're talking of these hubs you're building, you're creating, you're facilitating, what are we doing? Why are you still waiting for the government to create a kind of non-state actors, civil society groups, to help and control our IT industry? For example, last year it was MMM. This year was WAEC. So people put up a site and using the site to push out WAEC information to students writing exams. And these are the people who are supposed to train in our society. So what are we doing in this area? Because, like she rightly said, I'm working for an NGO in Netherlands. So the data I collect here is for them. I don't make any use of it. So what are we doing? Somebody that's building websites. From 2013 till now, I have had 4 websites, and none of them is working. Now I'm learning how to build sites, because they will use templates and build sites. And when you say, okay, I don't want this, change this, because it's a dummy, they can't change it. They will keep dribbling you. And, business moves in stages. And they can't do anything. Okay, I don't want this thing. Just put one other file. They will keep telling you stories. And we need these things, even if as we are building. Coding is not our problem now in Nigeria. We have talents, but we need this regulation. Our government, they are not doing much. They are doing that policy, but we can see, you rightly said, the social media, they are putting effort to regulate, maybe in the area of human rights. So when people will shout and government actually listen. So we need to bring this association. When we say, for example, now, we know about W3C, but there's nothing like any organization that is regulating Nigerian website builders. Why should I have a website? And the database will be in London. Somebody like EngageTv, everything she's doing, her database is not in Nigeria. One day they can start to pull her down. You can't compete with Google, you can't compete with Facebook. They will pull you down one day because they have your database. So what are we doing in area of that? When you ask, they will say, we don't have light, this one, that one. But in our private homes, we create homes that there will always be light. But in such, for business things like that, we can't create an environment where there will always be light for such things. So if there is something you're already doing, I need to know, or you tell us your plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can the lady at the back quickly ask the question so we can wrap this up? Yeah, but just before the lady asks the question. So the first question was around what kind of legislation do we think is needed to accelerate growth? I mean, in summary, do we think is needed to accelerate growth within the tech industry in Nigeria?
adopt, a technology-driven strategy, a national strategy, right? And if we look at, for example, Korea has really adopted a technology-driven strategy, and it's their national strategy, and they've broken it down in 5-year plans, right? And this started in 1959. And I just recently came back from Korea, and it's my second time there, and it's a country that amazes me over and over again. In 1959, they were the 3rd poorest country in the world, right? 1959, we got independence a year after, and we were not poor. Today, they are, in the top 14, countries, and they have created a knowledge-based society, and they have created products that are of high quality, and if you really study how they've done it, it's all based on their national strategy, right? And if we do not embrace technology as a key driver of our national strategy, then, we can just forget the whole, we're going to be the giant of Africa, we're going to leapfrog anywhere, because we're not even going to jump from here to there, right? So I think before we look at what legal frameworks we need to look at what mindset do we need, what strategy do we need, and then start implementing that strategy in small broken down chunks. What can we do in the short term, right? Because we have big problems. We have education problem, right, which technology can solve, right? Even the problem of, we don't have, facilities and things like that. There's virtual reality. You can learn how to be a world-class mechanic using virtual reality. It allows you to pick up all the tools, do all the work. So you're learning practical skills, but you're not learning them with physical tools. You're learning them with virtual tools. All of this stuff is available. We just need to actually sit down and say, our strategy is to use technology to move our country forward. And then ask the question, how? Right? So once we ask the question, how, that is where we can then start saying, okay, these are the policies that we need. These are the frameworks that we need. These are the standards that we need, right? Because one of the big problems is that there are a lot of standard frameworks that have been written by different consultants. They're all in a library in Lidda. Yes, no, I know where they are. Nobody is using them, they're not being implemented, and, it just causes a lot of problems because people can do whatever they want, right? People ask me, who's your biggest competition? And I tell them it's young kids that will charge 20K for a website. That's my biggest competition, because clients don't understand that they have to be standards for certain things, right? To them, it's bottom line. You're charging this, they're charging 20K. I'm going to use the one as 20K, right? Exactly. Then they have the problem where, there's no standard. They, want to change something. The guy has disappeared, and, they don't know what to do. They don't own the domain name. They don't know where it's hosted and all of that. So there's a really big issue in terms of educating, the end user. And that, if we have a national strategy that is actually focused on technology, then all of that can happen. And in order to actually implement such a strategy, we need a ministry for innovation and digitalization. And this ministry must stand alone. It must not be mixed with any other weird things that have nothing to do with innovation and digitalization, because that is where the future is. We need to stop making, doing things that are backward. We need to think forward. I'm so happy about this not too young to run, because that now emphasizes, because we need a minister of technology that is not older than 40 and that understands the industry and comes from the industry and does not have a background that is somewhere else. And this is, these are the things that are critical and that we need to look at. And if we have a national strategy that embraces technology, these things will become possible. Because right now they're not possible, because we're not saying technology is what we need to drive. We need people who are ready to, dedicate their life to implementing a technology-driven strategy in Nigeria. Those are the people that we need, not people who are looking at how can I lace my pockets with government contracts, right? Yeah, maybe I'll stop there.
Dr. Otoye, what do you think?
Yeah.
What kind of legislations do you think we should have?
The legislation, I don't think is the problem.
Okay.
I think the cycle. She made a very important point earlier. You want to do you are running an insurance company, you need 5 years to break even. Now, everything charge of guiding the narrative of the country. You write a very beautiful thesis on how we are to move forward. We had Vision 2010, Vision 2020, and all these things. None of these things, it's not even fault of the government. None of these things go beyond that 2.5-year cycle. It's just that simple.
So then you think it's a cycle problem?
Yes, it is a cycle problem. If you look at the plans themselves, after all, we had a digitalization policy for our TV. If you read it, it's beautiful. But it can't work because the minister is under pressure. Everybody is under pressure. The person over there is about to retire. This blah, blah, blah. So it won't work. You need something that continues at least beyond 5 years.
Okay.
If you have that, then you can now check whether any policy is good or bad.
Okay, great. Thank you, Doctor. Jega, just before you answer, your own answer.
Okay. Thank you, the panelists. My name is Ima. And my question is, when does your working experience start to count? Because this is what is affecting our youth now in our country. Because why I'm asking this question is that in public sector and in governmental sector, in government, our working experience starts to count after NYSC. And now tell me, how can somebody that graduated like last year have a working experience to meet up with the work you want to do, you want him or her to do? But if our working experience starts to count from secondary school, it will help, as she said, how you baby your child. It will help parents during secondary school to send their children to training that they will do a practical work more than the theoretical aspect. But when it does not start, you see that a child will keep on going to school and going to school, doing theoretical aspect, and leave the practical work, which will drive to the technology environment that we are looking up to today. So when it is like this, it will not help our youth, because we will say, why will I spend money in training myself while I'm in secondary school, while my working experience will start after NYSC? It doesn't help us. So I want the government to look into this and the private sector to help us, that our working experience will start after secondary school, so that we can send our children during holiday to go for something they will do practically.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I think my first question in line with that is, did anybody actually say your working experience has to start from NYSC?
So I think it's when, if you apply for a job, it always says post-NYSC experience, right? However, what you have to realize, there's something that is very important that Jega said. He says that he does not care about certificates, he cares about skills. And when it comes to technology specifically, there's no technology company that's not going to hire you if you say, I have 5 years of whatever I've been doing and I can do this. They will give you a test. Can you do it? You can do it. Fine. You cannot even have an NYSC. They will hire you. I know a boy, he's 16 years old, and he currently works for one of the biggest tech startups. And he came to me and he said, look, I'm a programmer, I love what I do, and I don't want to go to university because this system has failed me. But I have skills. I've been programming since I was 11. And he's found a job. And guess what? He's been involved in developer circles. He's been doing internships. He's been volunteering. So even at 16, he has more work experience than most people who are 26, right? And this is where we need to start having a mindset shift. It is not about what the regulation said. It is about what you want as individual and what counts for you as an individual. And then it is about how you package yourself. You go somewhere on your CV, you list everything from secondary school as long as it's relevant to the job. The person who's reading your CV will actually look at it and say, see, this person has done this, this person has done this, they've volunteered here, they've interned here, they've done this. Let's interview them, even if they don't have post-NYSC experience. Because at the end of the day, and you might be laughing, but you just have to be bullish about it. You have to be hard-headed. And, one of my friends, she always says to me, she says, when they say no, just go back and knock again. Or you go and knock on a different door. It's not because one person told you no that you now say, but why have I wasted my time, right? I will give just a very short example. example. I went to do a pitch to a client, and when I got there, they said, "Oh, go and wait in the boardroom." I went to the boardroom, and there was a guy sitting there, and he was doing his, stuff on his computer. He was very engrossed in it, and at some point he says, "Sorry, but are you in Kim?" And I said, "Yeah. How do you know this?" And he says, "I have been looking for you." And I said, "Yeah, it's not that hard to find me. I'm online, right?" And he says, "Yes, I know. I mean in person." And then he says, "I have been looking for you because I want to thank you. You came to Unilag when I was in my first year, and you said that we should get job experience. And from that first year, I've worked every single year during my summer break." He's like, "Now I'm in my final year, and this company where I am today, I'm doing statistical research for them, I'm doing this for them, I'm doing that for them, and they've offered me a job." And he says, "I want to thank you for saying that, because my mates are still at home sleeping. I have 5 years of experience." And that's the difference, right? And that's, my message to young people is stop waiting for somebody to help you, to spoon feed you, to baby you, to tell you, "Oh, come on, this is how we're going to do it." No, take your destiny in your own hands and control it. It's as easy as that.
All right, thank you. And Kemi said it all.
Okay.
Jega.
Thank you very much. Actually, this has triggered me to say something.
Can we just use this as part of your close-up?
Okay.
Since Nkem has already closed up.
Okay. This has really triggered me to say some things that I'm not supposed to.
No,
thank you very much, Doctor, for your insights about policy and what have you. I feel NIDA is there. If you look at NIDA carefully, look at NIDA's mandate and what have you, they've not been able to meet up 10% of their mandates. They don't have data. We in the private sector, the data we can boast of, they don't have 10% of it. We are doing their work. Look at what 9 is doing. Without support of any government, without support of anybody, look at what 9 as an individual, as an NGO doing. They have the database of all hubs in Nigeria. And their data, they know what the hubs do every day. They know, they have reports and everything. This is very, very scary in a very organized system. So for you, what we do at the startup ecosystem, we activate ecosystem in different cities. We're trying to engage young people to go into tech, to mentor them, to guide them, to conscientize their mind, to take tech as an avenue of empowerment. You understand? Let them use it as a lifestyle. As they are using it to play, they can use it as well to make money, they can use it to innovate. That's what we're doing. Because we understand that, as I always say, we are digital natives. We young people are digital natives. And we happen to have our leaders are digital migrants. So for us to educate them, or for them to be at the speed of our mind and memory processor speed, it's very difficult for them to understand. When the president made a speech on the Independence Day, Democracy Day, sorry, he didn't talk about anything technology. He didn't know we exist. He forgot about us. And we are a critical element to this government that drives this government economy. We are the ones going outside every city, making name, creating impression. When they see Nigerians now, they take us more importance. I'm telling you. When we go for conferences outside the country, say, "Are you from Nigeria? Please come, I need to talk to you." Because our critical mass, people are saying it. Someone from Sweden told me that anytime I remember your numbers, I see money. Anything that you drop inside Nigeria will transform to money. Trust me. So that's what we're telling these young people, try and come up with an innovation. It will work. We still have a lot of things to be done. So for the policy, I feel they can't control what is going to happen now. A lot needs to be done in the system. I don't want to talk so much because I'm going to hit really, really hard on the government, sincerely. So I just want to, because my mommy is here and I have so much respect for her. So for us, people like mommy should go to beach and even though she's somebody who is very hands-on. I so much believe in her. I will learn so much about her, from her, sorry. And I feel the government is doing nothing in the startup ecosystem and the tech ecosystem. Nothing, absolutely nothing. All that has been done is actually at the peripheral. No depth, and there's no connect to it. The same thing with NIDA. Neither are just there celebrating and taking startups to GITEX doing what? A lot of innovations are dying every day. Young people are there, nobody's talking to them. They've lost direction, they've lost hope. So when they see us as messiahs. We talk to them confidently, give them hope. We told them, even though sometimes we don't have money, but we connect them to hubs. We connect them to opportunities. So they give their destiny, they leave their destiny in our hands. They believe in us more than the government. So we are trying tactfully forming a government in a government. Mommy, I'm telling you this. You need to be aware. So thank you very much. So, but brother, a lot has been happening. So wherever you are, which city you are, you can connect to young people are doing an amazing thing so that we can all develop and grow together.
So last but not the least, Dr. Tonya, what do you say?
I like to say one thing. Storing data costs money.
One?
Yes. That's the first thing. Everything I say now will go around that part. We keep on talking about the ICT ecosystem like it exists on its own. It requires a lot of infrastructure underneath. That's why I talked about the iceberg underneath. If you don't have electricity, it costs so much to run a data storage system in this country just because of the power. That's where you spend most of your money. I had a fellow, let me just give you the short story. He wanted a Bitcoin mining machine. He actually went across here to the computer village and bought gaming level motherboards. You will not believe the kind of equipment you see in Nigeria. Built a Bitcoin mining machine and wanted to run it. He had calculated everything down to his electricity usage and was about to become a multi-millionaire literally overnight. He took the machine home, and this was the person who built it telling me. The guy came back in 1 month, told him to take the thing apart, sell it, sell all the parts, give him the money, and he was going to the United States. And the guy got into the plane and got into the United States in 2 weeks. Why? Generators. He didn't factor the fact that he had to keep, in order to mine Bitcoin, he had to keep the machines running at almost 100% for 24 hours a day. And they required generators. The money for the fuel wiped out everything he made. He was actually owing. So if you are talking about, data, we need to run this infrastructure must exist in some way. Some way, somewhere. Even if it has to exist in the hubs alone, and you go to the hubs, or you go into the industrial park, and that's where it exists, somewhere, somehow it must exist. If you don't have it, nothing moves. You can talk forget it tomorrow. And one more thing, about the guy about the HTML, most of the problems of in Nigeria because of exactly what he said. Most people can't program HTML. They use templates. They can't do HTML and CSS. And if you don't know that, you can't make anything new. So what you need are programmers that create templates, not somebody who uses it.
Joomla.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you, everybody. I mean, the look from the MC has not been favorable, but don't worry, we are leaving very soon. Thank you very much, Kem, Jega. It's nice having you again.
Thank you.
Dr. Otoye, it was great, fantastic meeting you. A round of applause for everybody, please. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, panelists. And
okay, just a sentence from.
Okay. All right, ma'am. The floor is yours, madam.
We're doing it always to trigger them. It's good for us to trigger them. If we keep talking gently, they don't understand. So let's trigger them, then they'll wake up.
Okay, it's on. It's working.
I just want to thank the panelists. And I represent government. I'm the director of IT in the Ministry of Communications. So I'm ready for all the passion and everything. I'm used to it. But I'm still Moni Udo. I'm a Nigerian. I'm a parent. All right? I'm concerned about everything we said here today. I want to tell us that government is doing a lot. This government is doing nothing. We're doing a lot. We have policies, we have regulations, we have guidelines. We have acts of parliament in place. However, trained. But I don't want to go into all of that because we will have our day in court. I think there's a panel to discuss what policies and actions. So what I want to say to us is that I think together we can truly move this nation forward. Government cannot and has never done it alone. Yep. Nowhere in the world that government took it and brought it to the final stage. We need that partnership. We need that collaboration. We need that support from the private sector, from academia. We must work together to move this country. The young people, you have all the ideas. You are very restless. But come, let us know, where the shoe pinches and tell us this is the priority area. This is this is that. Not confrontational, but, subtly, as kids, you talk to your parents. As parents, you talk to your, colleague. And together, we can. We have all these instruments in place. Implementation is an issue. But we need you to work with us, okay? To do those right things that you want us to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for this wonderful session. Please, you may stand and pose for your photograph. Thank you for your patience. We really apologize for stretch in the event. Tomorrow, the event starts at 10 a.m. And the first 100 people are going to be gifted for being prompt. We are going to have a keynote speech delivered by the one and only Senator Ben Brew. If you have not done your national ID card, please, we have NIMSI here to attend to you. They are out there in the exhibition area. We are also receiving road safety tomorrow. And if you have any need for a driver's license or you need to renew or anything concerning what they do, please be here tomorrow. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you, panelists, and thank you for all